At 8:12 on a Sunday morning, I discovered that 37 members of my family had spent Saturday celebrating my cousin Paige's bridal shower. I learned about it from Facebook. In the fifth photograph, my mother was raising a champagne glass beneath a hand-painted welcome sign I had designed for free. I had not been invited. At 8:19, an accidental group message appeared on my phone. Remember not to mention the wedding around Claire. Paige deserves one season without dealing with her jealousy. My mother reacted with a heart. Aunt Valerie replied, "Delete that. Wrong Claire." Then the entire conversation vanished. They had not forgotten me. They had rehearsed my absence. My engagement ring sat in a ceramic dish beside the sink. I had removed it before Easter dinner because my mother said announcing my engagement might steal Paige's moment. Now the same people who asked me to hide my happiness were celebrating beneath decorations I had made for theirs. For several seconds I stood in the center of my kitchen while the smoke alarm chirped above me. The toast in my oven had burned black. My coffee sat untouched beside the sink. Rain slid down the windows of my Grand Rapids condo, turning the brick buildings across the street into watery shadows. I barely noticed any of it. My thumb moved through the photographs again. Paige stood beneath strings of white lights in Aunt Valerie's backyard, wearing a pale blue dress and holding a champagne flute. My grandmother sat nearby in her favorite red cardigan. My father was carrying folding chairs. My mother had helped arrange the dessert table. Cousins who lived in Ohio and Illinois had made the drive. My mother's former college roommate was there. Even Mrs. Landry, the woman who lived across the street from my parents, was smiling beside the mimosa bar. Everyone held cream-colored advice cards with small watercolor leaves in the corners. I had designed those cards too. 3 weeks earlier, Aunt Valerie called and said the family was keeping the shower simple because Paige and her fiancé had already spent so much on their hotel wedding. She asked whether I could make a welcome sign, advice cards, favor tags, and a few table decorations. Nothing complicated, she said. Just your little creative touch. I owned a small interior styling and hand lettering studio called Hearth and Line. I redesigned kitchens, nurseries, bookstores, cafes, and neighborhood offices. I had built the business from a folding table in my first apartment into a studio that paid my mortgage. My family still called it my craft hobby. I had spent 2 evenings painting Paige's shower pieces because she was my cousin and because some stubborn part of me still believed generosity might eventually make them see me differently. My phone vibrated again. This time the message came directly from Paige. "Mom said you found out. Please don't turn this into another family emergency. You offered to help with the shower. That didn't mean you were invited." I read it 3 times. There was no apology. No claim that she had not known. Paige had known I was making decorations for a celebration from which she had agreed to exclude me. I typed, "Why wasn't I invited?" Her response came almost immediately. "I wanted one day where everyone could relax." What do you think I would have done? The typing bubble appeared, disappeared, then returned. "You know how you get." I stared at those 4 words. My family had spent years saying them without ever explaining what they meant. I did not scream at dinners. I did not insult Paige. I did not interrupt announcements. I became quiet. That was my crime. I became quiet when Aunt Valerie praised Paige's credit union promotion and called my design studio something fun to keep Claire busy. I became quiet when my mother asked me not to wear my engagement ring to Easter dinner. I became quiet when my father changed the subject after I announced that a restaurant group had hired me to redesign 3 local cafes. My silence made them uncomfortable because it left room for them to notice what they were doing. So they renamed it a jealousy. I called my mother before I could lose my nerve. She answered after 5 rings. "Claire, is everything all right?" Her voice held the familiar mixture of concern and caution, as though she had already decided I might become unreasonable. I saw the shower pictures. There was a pause. Then she said, "Oh, not what shower, not I'm sorry, just oh." I made the welcome sign. "I know. You were standing under it." "Yes." And no one thought I should know the shower was happening. My mother released a slow breath. Valerie wanted the afternoon to remain peaceful. I looked at the ring beside my sink. Peaceful from what? "Claire, please don't do this." "Do what?" "Turn Paige's wedding season into a conversation about you." The cruelty of the sentence was so clean that it momentarily left me speechless. I asked why I wasn't invited. There were concerns. "What concerns?" "You have always had difficulty when Paige receives attention." I laughed once. It was not amusement. It was the sound my body made because the alternative was crying. "Mom, you asked me to remove my engagement ring at Easter." That was different. How? You had not formally announced anything. Because you told me not to. We asked you to wait. For how long? Until after Paige's wedding. Her wedding was still 2 months away. Evan and I had been engaged for 6 weeks. He had proposed in my kitchen after helping me install new shelves with sawdust still caught in his hair. There had been no photographer hiding nearby, no elaborate family dinner, and no speech written for social media. He had opened a small wooden box containing his grandmother's plain gold ring and said, "I don't need a perfect life. I just want a real one with you." It was the easiest yes of my life. Then I called my mother. She congratulated me for less than a minute before saying, "Please don't announce anything yet. Paige is already overwhelmed." I agreed because I had spent my entire life mistaking compliance for kindness. Now my mother said the timing was sensitive. My engagement was sensitive. My ring was sensitive. My business is a hobby. My feelings are drama. Is there anything about me that is allowed to exist without being adjusted for Paige? That is exactly the attitude everyone was worried about. I gripped the edge of the counter. "Did you know I was also being excluded from the wedding?" The silence answered before she did. "Mom, the guest list is complicated. The hotel ballroom holds almost 200 people. That does not mean everyone can be included. Mrs. Landry is invited. She has known Paige since she was a baby. So have I." My mother sighed. "Claire, I need you to think carefully before you react. Some relationships in this family are already fragile." There it was. The warning she always used when she wanted me to accept something without protest. If I objected, I would be the person damaging the family. If I stayed silent, they would use the silence as proof that they had been right. "I'm calling Aunt Valerie." "Don't." The speed of her answer told me everything. I ended the call and dialed my aunt. She answered on the second ring. "I wondered when you would call." No greeting. No confusion. She had been waiting. Why wasn't I invited to Paige's shower? Because Paige deserved one event where she did not have to monitor your mood. When has she ever had to monitor my mood? You become quiet. People notice. Then your mother spends the rest of the day worrying about whether you are upset. I become quiet because every family event turns into a celebration of Paige and an evaluation of me. That attitude is exactly why you were not included. I am her cousin. Being related does not entitle you to every invitation. No, but honesty would have been nice. You are being dramatic. I asked one question, and I am giving you an answer you dislike. Her voice lowered into the tone she used when she wanted cruelty to sound mature. The wedding is on June 14th. I suggest you make other plans that weekend. My chest tightened. So I'm not invited. You were going to receive a respectful note after the invitations went out. A note. It would have explained that the guest list was finalized. You invited my mother's neighbor. Mrs. Landry has always supported Paige, and I haven't. You have turned everything between you into a competition. I designed her shower decorations for free. That was a gift. You cannot give someone a gift and then attach conditions. I assumed I was helping my cousin celebrate. You were helping. We appreciated it. The word appreciated made my stomach turn. Paige told me she knew. Then there is nothing left to discuss. There is one thing. What? Do not tell people I declined. A small pause followed. I have no idea what you mean. Yes, you do. I hung up. At 10:03, my younger cousin sent me a message. I heard you decided not to attend Paige's wedding. Grandma is devastated. Whatever happened, family should come first. That was when I understood the entire plan. They were not only removing me, they were rewriting the story, so I would be blamed for the empty chair. I replied, I did not decline. I was never invited. Please don't involve Grandma until I speak with her. She read the message. She did not answer. By noon, Paige posted a photograph from the shower. She stood beneath my sign with her mother on one side and mine on the other. Her caption read, "Protecting my peace and celebrating with the women who have always supported me." My mother commented, "So proud of your grace." I turned my phone face down. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to say the sentence plainly. My family did not misunderstand me. They had created a version of me that made their treatment easier to justify. The next morning, I drove 20 minutes north to my parents' ranch house. My mother was kneeling beside a flower bed when I pulled into the driveway. When she saw me, she slowly removed her gardening gloves. "You should have called." I did call. You know what I mean. My father appeared in the garage doorway holding a travel mug. For one hopeful second, I thought he might come outside. Instead, he lifted one hand weakly and disappeared back into the house. That was my father's specialty. He never openly chose the cruel side. He simply left the room and allowed it to win. My mother led me into the kitchen. The house smelled like lemon cleaner and cinnamon coffee. On the refrigerator was a new engagement photograph of Paige and her fiancé. There was no recent photograph of me anywhere. I want you to tell me exactly what the family has been told, I said. My mother sat at the breakfast table and folded her hands. No one is discussing you as much as you imagine. My cousin believes I refused the wedding. That may be how Valerie explained it, and you allowed her. People did not need every private detail. The private detail is that my own family excluded me. My mother pressed her lips together. Your aunt wanted to avoid conflict, so she lied. That is a harsh word. It is the correct word. She glanced toward the hallway, perhaps hoping my father would rescue her. He did not. You left Christmas early, she said. You barely spoke after Paige announced the hotel. I left because Valerie described Paige's job as a real career, then asked whether my studio was still a hobby. You could have laughed it off. I did laugh it off. Then I went home. You see, people noticed. I stared at her. If I stay after being insulted, I'm jealous. If I leave, I'm dramatic. If I say nothing, I'm sulking. What am I allowed to do? You are allowed to be gracious. Gracious? That word had governed most of my life. Gracious meant absorbing the insult quietly. Gracious meant painting a welcome sign for a party where I was unwelcome. Gracious meant hiding my engagement ring so another adult woman never had to share attention. I placed the screenshot of the group message on the table. My mother barely looked at it. We all agreed the shower would be calmer without you, she said. You added a heart. It was not meant the way you are reading it. How else should I read a heart beneath a message calling your daughter jealous? Her expression tightened. Do not speak as though I am some kind of monster. Your father and I have supported you your entire life. She stood and crossed to the sink. We still pay your car insurance. We helped when your business had slow months. The insurance cost less than $200 a month. I had offered to take it over twice, but my mother insisted that helping was what parents did. Now I saw the price attached to the help. If you choose to stir up this wedding situation, she continued, we cannot continue rewarding that behavior. I opened my banking app. What are you doing? Sending you the last 3 months of insurance payments. Do not be childish. I'm removing the part you can use against me. Her expression changed. Control often looks like generosity until the recipient stops needing it. I completed the transfer. My father entered the kitchen. What's happening? My mother looked at him as though I had attacked her. Your daughter is cutting us off over a wedding invitation. I faced him. Did you know I wasn't invited? He looked at my mother, then at the floor. I thought Valerie was handling the guest list. That is not what I asked. He rubbed the side of his mug. I knew there were concerns. Did you agree with them? Silence. Dad, look at me. He raised his eyes. Did you agree that I should be excluded? I didn't want to make things worse. That is still a choice. His face fell. I picked up my phone and walked toward the door. My mother followed me into the hallway. If you tell your grandmother some dramatic version of this, you will hurt her. I turned around. The truth is not dramatic just because it makes you look bad. Then I left. For the next 3 days, I barely worked. I sat at my drafting table surrounded by fabric samples, floor plans, and paint cards, but every decision felt impossible. A client wanted 2 options for a kitchen banquette. I stared at 6 shades of green until all of them looked gray. My phone continued filling with messages. Paige deserves support. Weddings are stressful. You should be the bigger person. Family isn't perfect, Claire. Not one person asked whether I was all right. On Wednesday afternoon, I missed a client presentation deadline for the first time in 9 years. I called, apologized, and offered a discount. The client was kind. I cried after we hung up. Then another email arrived. A pediatric therapy office had been preparing to hire me for a waiting room redesign. The project would have covered nearly 2 months of expenses. The office manager wrote, "We've become aware of a personal conflict involving members of our local community. For now, we've decided to pause the project." One of Aunt Valerie's closest friends sat on the office's fundraising committee. I read the email twice. This was no longer only about a missing invitation. My aunt was carrying her version of me into rooms where I earned my living. I opened Facebook and began writing. I attached the shower photographs, then the accidental group message, then Paige's text. My draft began. Since my family has decided to publicly describe me as jealous and unstable, here is what actually happened. I wrote for nearly an hour. Every sentence was true. Every screenshot was real. My finger hovered over the post button. Then the doorbell rang. I ignored it. The bell rang again. A fist struck the door. Claire Serena called from the hallway. Open this before I tell your neighbors you've been kidnapped. I closed my laptop. Serena entered carrying chicken pad thai, 2 iced teas, and the expression of someone prepared to stay until I stopped lying. She photographed weddings and families for a living. She could notice tension in a room before most people realized someone had stopped smiling. "You look terrible," she said. "Thank you. You're welcome." She put the food down, kicked off her shoes, and saw the open laptop. "What were you about to do? Tell the truth." She read the first paragraph. Then she looked at me. "Do you want to tell the truth, or do you want to hurt them?" "Both." It was the first honest thing I had said all day. Serena nodded. "Fair. You think I shouldn't post it?" "I think Valerie wants a public fight. She already told everyone you are unstable. 100 angry comments will become her evidence. So I'm supposed to stay silent." "No. You're supposed to decide what outcome you want before you hand her the microphone." I pushed the laptop away. "They're affecting my business." "I know. They're telling Grandma I refused." "I know. They used my work at the shower." "I know, Claire." My voice rose. "And everyone keeps telling me to be calm." "I'm not telling you to be calm." "Then what are you telling me?" Serena waited until I looked at her. "Stop auditioning." I frowned. "You have treated every family gathering like an audition for years," she continued. "You bring the right gift. You wear something safe. You ask Paige questions. You downplay your business. You take off your ring. You leave before anyone can accuse you of reacting." I looked down, and after all that Serena said, they still cast you as the problem. Tears burned my eyes. What am I supposed to do? Stop trying to win the part. I deleted the screenshots from the draft. Then I wrote a shorter post. Over the past several weeks, I have learned how quickly a story can be written around someone who remains silent. I will not discuss private family conflict online. I will say only this. I did not decline an invitation. Hearth and Line remains committed to thoughtful, respectful work as it has for 9 years. I attached photographs from 3 recent projects and turned off the comments. A former client shared it the next morning. Then another. A bakery owner wrote, "Claire redesigned our front room while my husband was in cancer treatment. She was patient, professional, and kind." A teacher shared photographs of a reading corner I had helped renovate. She donated half her time and never asked for recognition. The messages did not magically repair the lost project. They did not stop my family from talking, but they reminded me that Aunt Valerie's version of me was not the only one that existed. That evening I called Grandma. Her hello sounded cautious. "Grandma, I need to tell you what happened. Please let me finish before you respond." She sighed. "All right." I did not decline Paige's shower or wedding. I was excluded from both. Mom and Aunt Valerie decided my presence would create tension. Then they told people I chose not to come. Silence followed. I could hear the slow ticking of her wall clock. Finally, she said, "Valerie told me you were angry because Paige was getting married before you." "I'm 35, Grandma. I have not spent my life racing Paige toward an altar." She said, "You made comments." "What comments?" Another silence. She did not say exactly, because I did not make them. I told her about the decorations, the accidental group message, Paige's text, and the conversation at my parents' house. I did not list every insult from childhood. I simply described what had happened. When I finished, Grandma whispered, "I need time to think." "I understand." "Claire." "Yes." "I'm sorry you found out through Facebook." It was not the apology I wanted, but it was the first crack in Aunt Valerie's story. That weekend, Serena and I drove to a small inn near Saugatuck on the Lake Michigan shoreline. She had been hired to photograph the property for a regional travel magazine. I was styling the rooms, arranging flowers, and helping the owner make the common areas feel warmer. The inn was not luxurious. The floors creaked. The porch leaned slightly toward the water. Half of the guest rooms still had floral wallpaper from the 1990s. But sunlight poured through the old windows, and every room felt as though real people had lived inside it. I loved that. For 2 days, Serena and I worked from sunrise until dinner. I moved furniture, layered quilts, filled ceramic pitchers with grocery store tulips, and turned a neglected reading corner into a place that looked impossible to leave. The physical work quieted my mind. On Saturday afternoon, Evan arrived carrying 2 unfinished walnut benches from his workshop. He taught woodworking at a public high school and built furniture on weekends. He had patient hands, a crooked smile, and no interest in pretending not to notice when I was hurting. My family treated him like a temporary phase because he did not wear expensive suits or talk loudly about money. At Christmas, Valerie asked, whether he intended to do furniture forever. Evan replied, as long as people need places to sit. I loved him for that answer. He put down the benches and studied my face. You sleeping? Technically. Eating. Serena is enforcing it. From the lobby, Serena called. I heard that. Evan touched the back of my hand. Do you want me to ask? Number. Do you want me to stay anyway? Yes. That was Evan. He never forced a door open. He waited nearby until I was ready to walk through it. That evening, we ate burgers on the porch while wind moved through the dune grass. After Serena went inside, Evan and I remained beneath a string of old patio lights. I've been thinking about what you said when I proposed, he told me. What did I say? That you didn't want a wedding where you spent the whole day making sure everyone else was comfortable. I looked toward the dark water. I still don't. My aunt offered us her cottage. He opened a photograph on his phone. The cedar-sided house sat farther north on a quiet bluff, with a wide lawn, a small orchard, and a path leading to the beach. She can give us May 24th, he said. After that summer, renters have it through Labor Day. May 24th. Serena checked her calendar. It's the only Saturday she has open until October. From inside, Serena shouted, because apparently everyone in Michigan is getting married this summer. I laughed. Evan continued, my sister can come from Columbus that weekend. My grandmother's doctor doesn't want her traveling after June. It's soon, but it works. The practical details made the idea feel real. What will my family think? To whom does that matter? To me. He did not pretend otherwise. I know. For most of my adulthood, I imagined my wedding as another test. My mother approving the dress, Valerie praising the venue, Paige acting happy for me, my father giving a speech that finally named something he admired about his daughter. But when I pictured the cottage lawn, I did not see any of them. I saw Serena behind her camera, Evan's students building flower boxes, my neighbor bringing the lemon cake she baked for every important occasion. I saw people who knew me without requiring me to become smaller. What if we wait? I asked. We can. What if we wait until all of this is over? We can do that too. Evan took my hand, but Claire, there will always be another reason to wait for permission. Tears rose unexpectedly. I'm tired of waiting. Then don't. I looked again at the cottage. May 24th. Are you sure? Number. That's honest. But I want it. He smiled. Then we'll make it ours. Over the next 3 weeks, we called the people we loved. Every person said yes. Serena volunteered photography. Evan's sister coordinated food from a family-owned restaurant. His students built simple wooden flower boxes. My neighbor insisted on making the cake. I designed ivory cards with hand-drawn apple branches. Evan built ceremony benches from walnut and maple. For the first time in my life, planning a family event did not feel like managing a crisis. Then Serena posted a close-up photograph of one of the envelopes. The date was only partly visible. It was enough. On Thursday morning, I was in Evan's workshop choosing wood for the ceremony sign when Aunt Valerie called. What exactly are you planning on May 24th? She demanded. A wedding. The silence was absolute. Then she laughed. You cannot be serious. I am. You're marrying Evan. Yes. On May 24th. Yes. That is Paige's wedding date. For a moment, I thought I had misheard. No. Paige's wedding is June 14th. It was moved. When? Several weeks ago. The hotel had a scheduling issue, and no one told me. You were not attending. The sentence explained everything. They had updated the date for everyone who mattered. Why are you calling now? Because you need to move your event. My wedding. Whatever you call it. That contempt burned away my first instinct to apologize. We can't move it. Of course you can. You have 20 people standing in a yard. Paige has 180 guests, a ballroom, vendors, a band, and relatives traveling from across the country. There was the hierarchy Valerie understood. Larger meant real. Expensive meant important. Paige's plans deserved protection. Mine were disposable. The cottage is only available that weekend, I said. Serena is booked after that. Evan's grandmother cannot travel later in the summer. Then find another photographer. Number. Choose another cottage. Number. Claire, you are forcing the family to choose sides. I have not invited anyone attending Paige's wedding. That is not the point. It is exactly the point. Valerie's voice lowered. You have spent your entire life resenting Paige. Now you finally found a way to compete with her wedding. I did not know her date changed. Convenient. You will call your guests today, she continued. You will move the wedding. Then you will send Paige a message apologizing for the stress. Number. She stopped speaking. I had said the word quietly. It still felt enormous. No, I repeated. I am not moving my wedding because you decided I was too unimportant to receive a date change. You selfish little… I ended the call. My hands were shaking. Evan approached slowly. Do you want to move it? The question contained no pressure. That should have made me feel safe. Instead, something frightened and angry inside me lashed out. Maybe that would be easier for you. His face changed. What? You never wanted a big family wedding. Maybe you're relieved they're not coming. That is not fair. I know. But I kept going. You get to stand there and tell me their approval doesn't matter because they're not your parents. Evan went quiet. The workshop seemed suddenly too large. I'm sorry, I said, but the words came out sharp. You wanted them to choose you. My anger collapsed. Yes, I know. He looked toward the half-built ceremony sign. I'm not relieved they hurt you, Claire. I'm angry they taught you that being loved means waiting to see whether someone chooses you in public. I sat on the edge of the workbench. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then I opened our shared planning document. I stared at the guest list. My cursor hovered over the date. I almost posted all the screenshots last week, I admitted. I know. How? Serena told me. Of course she did. He smiled faintly. I almost drove to the hotel too. When? Tuesday. I got as far as the highway. Why didn't you go? I pictured myself walking into the lobby demanding answers. Then I realized they would finally have the scene they kept accusing me of making. Evan sat beside me. What do you want now? I looked at the date. I want to keep it. Then we keep it. What if they say I did it deliberately? They will. What if people believe them? Some will. What if my grandmother feels trapped? We tell her the truth and let her decide. For years, I believed peace meant choosing whatever caused the least anger in other people. But that was not peace. It was surrender with good manners. We keep the date, I said. We keep the date, Evan replied. The messages began before lunch. My mother, please call. This has gone too far. My father, your mom is very upset. Can everyone calm down? Paige, I cannot believe you would do this to me. I replied to Paige. I chose the date before your wedding was moved. Her response came immediately. You expect me to believe you accidentally chose the one day that would hurt me most. I did not know. You always need to prove you have something too. I looked at my engagement ring. For 6 weeks I had hidden it for her. I typed, I hid my engagement because Mom said your happiness could not survive my announcement. I won't hide my marriage too. Paige read the message. She did not respond. Then Valerie texted, your grandmother's blood pressure cannot handle this manipulation. That message almost pulled me back into the old pattern. Almost. Then Grandma called. Is it true you're getting married? Yes. On Paige's wedding day, on the day we chose before anyone told us her date changed. I explained the cottage schedule, Serena's availability, Evan's grandmother, and Aunt Valerie's call. When I finished, Grandma asked, why didn't you invite me? The hurt in her voice pierced every defense I had built. I didn't want to put you in the middle. I am already in the middle. Everyone placed me there and then used my age as permission to speak for me. I covered my mouth. Do you want me at your wedding? She asked. Yes. Then invite me. What about Paige? I love Paige. I attended her shower. I attended her engagement dinner. I have celebrated her many times. Her voice strengthened. I have not celebrated you enough. I began to cry. Grandma chose my ceremony. My younger cousin and her husband chose it too after learning that Aunt Valerie had told them I was not genuinely engaged and was staging a symbolic event for attention. Valerie's older brother remained committed to Paige's wedding, but he called me. Valerie told me you demanded to make a speech at the reception, he said. I didn't know the new wedding date. She told Brooke you weren't really engaged. I am very much engaged. She told Grandma you refused the invitation. I was never invited. He went quiet. Why didn't anyone ask you? Because her version was easier. My parents said nothing for 2 days. Then 3 mornings before the wedding, they arrived at my condo with Aunt Valerie. My mother wore a navy cardigan buttoned tightly at her throat. My father stood behind her, looking as though he hoped the hallway would swallow him. Valerie walked inside without waiting for an invitation. We are resolving this today, she announced. My dining table was covered with hand-lettered place cards, menus, jars of local honey, and small bundles of dried rosemary. I closed the door and remained standing. My mother sat on the sofa. My father took the chair near the window. Valerie paced. We have a compromise, my mother began. The word turned my stomach. Paige is willing to allow you to attend the reception after dinner. You would arrive around 8:30. I stared at her. There would be no family photographs, she continued. And you would need to avoid discussing this situation with guests. In exchange for what? Valerie stopped pacing. You cancel your wedding. For one full second, I wondered whether I had misunderstood. You want me to cancel my wedding 3 days before it happens, so I can enter Paige's reception after dinner and stay out of the photographs. My mother flinched. It is the only solution that keeps the family together. No. It is the only solution that makes the family look together. Valerie's eyes narrowed. Do not be ungrateful. Paige did not have to offer anything. That is true. I turned to my mother. Is this what you want? She looked away. Mom, look at me. Slowly, she raised her eyes. If Paige asked you to make me cancel my wedding, would you really want me to do it? Her mouth opened. No answer came. The silence lasted only a few seconds. It felt like my entire childhood. Valerie spoke for her. Of course she does. She understands what family requires. The doorbell rang. No one moved. It rang again. I opened the door. Grandma stood in the hallway wearing her red cardigan and holding a small paper bag. I brought the bracelet, she said. Then she saw the room. My mother stood quickly. Mom, what are you doing here? I told Claire I would stop by. Valerie's expression tightened. This is not a good time. Grandma stepped inside. At my age, Valerie, I have learned that when someone says it is not a good time, it is usually the only time worth staying. She handed me the paper bag. Inside was a silver bracelet that had belonged to her mother. Then Grandma looked at the place cards, the menus, and Aunt Valerie's clenched purse. What are you discussing? No one needs to upset you, Valerie said. Grandma's eyes narrowed. Stop using my health to frighten people. My mother went still. Valerie forced a smile. We're trying to find a compromise so Claire does not divide the family. Grandma looked at me. What compromise? I answered before anyone could stop me. I cancel my wedding. In return, Paige lets me arrive at her reception after dinner. I stay out of the photographs and don't tell anyone why I wasn't originally invited. Grandma stared at Valerie. You suggested that it is practical. No. Practical is bringing an umbrella when it rains. Valerie's face reddened. Claire chose Paige's wedding date. She did not know the date had changed. That is what she claims. Grandma reached into her handbag and removed her phone. Your brother says you told him Claire demanded to give a speech. Valerie said nothing. You told Brooke that Claire was not truly engaged. That was a misunderstanding. You told me Claire refused the invitation because she was jealous. I was trying to protect you. From which story? The room became very quiet. Grandma continued. Was Claire an uninvited guest who refused to attend? Was she an unmarried woman staging a fake ceremony? Or was she demanding a speech at a wedding whose date she did not know? Valerie looked towards my mother. My mother looked down. Grandma's voice did not rise. That made it more powerful. You told each person the version most likely to make them angry with Claire. I will not be interrogated, Valerie snapped. No, Grandma replied. You are being asked one honest question. You are simply no longer used to answering them. My father stood. Valerie, is that true? She turned on him. Do not pretend you are innocent. You agreed she should not attend. His face drained of color. Yes, he said. My mother looked at him. He continued. I knew Claire was excluded. I knew the date changed. I said nothing. For once, he did not hide inside a softer sentence. This is not something she did to us. Valerie grabbed her purse. So now everyone is choosing her. Grandma shook her head. This is not about choosing one granddaughter over another. It is about no longer choosing a lie because it is convenient. Valerie moved toward the door. If Claire goes through with this, Paige will never forgive her. I met her gaze. Paige has never asked for my forgiveness. Valerie left and slammed the door hard enough to shake the framed print in my hallway. No one spoke for several seconds. My mother wiped one cheek. I don't understand how we got here. I do. She looked at me. Every time Valerie hurt me, you asked me to make things easier for her. Every time Paige was celebrated, you asked me to be happy. Every time I was dismissed, you asked me to be gracious. My mother's shoulders dropped. You taught them there was no cost to treating me badly. My father lowered his head. I should have spoken. Yes. For once, I did not rush to rescue him from his shame. My mother looked at the bracelet in my hand. Do you want us there? The old version of me would have said yes immediately. She would have mistaken attendance for healing. Instead, I took a breath. I want you there only if you come without asking me to hide, apologize, or prove anything. You will not whisper about Paige during the ceremony. You will not leave halfway through to appear at her reception. And you will not use my wedding to convince people you have always supported me. My mother stared at me. That sounds harsh. It sounds clear. My father looked at her. I'm going. She turned toward him. I'm going to Claire's wedding, he said. You have to decide for yourself." My mother began to cry. I did not comfort her. Not because I wanted to punish her, because her feelings were finally hers to carry. May 24th arrived warm and bright after a week of rain. At 7 in the morning, Serena opened the cottage bedroom door carrying coffee. "The lake has agreed to behave," she announced. I followed her outside in my robe. The water was calm. Sunlight moved across it in long silver paths. Evan's wooden benches faced a simple arch at the edge of the bluff. We had decorated it with apple branches, white tulips, and rosemary from my balcony garden. Nothing matched perfectly. That was what made it beautiful. The cake arrived before 10. Evan's sister arranged trays of roasted vegetables, bread chicken, and salad in the cottage kitchen. His students had built 6 planter boxes and filled them with ferns. There were 24 chairs. Grandma sat in the front row, wearing the same red cardigan she had worn at Paige's shower. At 11:30, my father's car turned into the gravel drive. He stepped out alone. My heart dropped. He wore a gray suit that fit badly across the shoulders and carried a wooden case. "I didn't know whether she was coming," he said. I nodded. He handed the case to Evan. Inside were my grandfather's old carving tools. "I should have passed these to someone who would use them years ago," Dad said. Evan ran his thumb over the worn handles. "I'll take care of them." Dad looked at me, and I should have taken care of more than tools. His eyes filled. I did not tell him everything was forgiven, but I touched his arm. At 12:45, just as Serena was helping me adjust my veil, another car appeared at the end of the driveway. My mother stepped out wearing a soft green dress. She did not hurry toward us. She stood beside the car as though she was uncertain whether she had the right to cross the lawn. I walked halfway to meet her. She held her purse with both hands. "I know showing up does not undo what I did," she said. "I just did not want my absence to be one more choice against you." It was not a perfect apology, but it was specific. For the first time, she had named the choice as hers. "You can sit with Grandma," I said. My mother nodded. She did not ask for a hug. She did not mention Paige. She walked quietly toward the chairs. At 1 o'clock, Grandma took my arm. "I spent too many years watching other people tell you where to stand," she said. "Today I'm walking where you choose." Together we moved down the short aisle. Evan waited beneath the arch in a navy suit with no tie. When he saw me, every voice that had ever asked whether I was too much became quiet. We wrote our own vows. Evan promised never to confuse peace with silence. I promised never to disappear in order to be loved. When we exchanged rings, the wind lifted my veil and carried the scent of rosemary across the lawn. Serena captured the exact moment Evan struggled to slide my ring over a knuckle swollen from the afternoon heat. My eyes were closed. Evan was laughing. Grandma was laughing. My mother was crying in the background. It became my favorite photograph. At 4 o'clock, while our guests ate lemon cake beneath the orchard trees, my phone vibrated inside the cottage. I ignored it. Later, I discovered 17 messages. Aunt Valerie wrote first. "I hope you are proud." Paige noticed the empty family seats. Then Paige, "Grandma chose you." I will never forget this. 20 minutes later, she sent another. "People are asking questions. Please tell them you planned this after my date changed." I did not answer. Paige's wedding was beautiful. The hotel ballroom was filled with white roses. The band played on schedule. The photographs looked elegant. Her wedding was not ruined by 6 empty chairs. What changed was the story around those chairs. At the rehearsal dinner, Valerie's brother mentioned that I had supposedly demanded a speech. My younger cousin said she had been told I was not really engaged. Another relative said I had refused the invitation. Grandma had already told several people what happened at my condo. There was no screaming confrontation, no overturned cake, no dramatic speech over a microphone. Something quieter happened. People stopped believing Aunt Valerie automatically. For a woman who controlled the family by controlling its story, doubt was consequence enough. 3 days after our wedding, Serena posted a small collection of photographs. Her caption read, 24 people, 1 lakeside cottage, handmade details, and 2 people who cared more about meaning than performance. A regional wedding page shared the ceremony arch and Evan's benches. The post did not turn me into an overnight celebrity. It brought me one new project redesigning 6 rooms at a family-owned inn. That project led to another. 8 months later, I hired a part-time assistant. A year after the wedding, I moved hearth and line from my second bedroom into a modest storefront near the river. The front windows displayed Evan's furniture beside my design work. Above my desk, I framed one sentence from our vows. Peace does not require disappearance. My relationship with my parents changed slowly. Dad began visiting on Saturday mornings. At first, he offered to repair things that were not broken. Eventually, he learned how to sit with me without pretending the past had been a misunderstanding. One morning, he said I thought staying neutral kept the family together. "It kept you comfortable," I replied. He nodded. "I know. Mom had a harder time." She apologized, then defended Valerie. She admitted there had been favoritism, then explained that Paige had always needed more reassurance. She asked whether we could start fresh, as though a new beginning could be declared before the old damage was named. I stopped accepting vague apologies. When she said I'm sorry for everything, I asked, "Which part?" At first she called that cruel. Months later, she learned to answer, "I'm sorry I helped exclude you. I'm sorry I repeated things I had not witnessed. I'm sorry I used money to make you obey me." Those sentences did not erase anything, but they built something more honest than the peace we had before. Aunt Valerie never apologized. She mailed me a long letter accusing me of humiliating Paige through social media. I read the first page. Then I placed it in a drawer and returned to work. I did not reply. That silence was different from the silence of my childhood. It was not fear. It was a boundary. Paige contacted me 2 months after the wedding. Her message contained 6 words. "Did you ever even love me?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I replied, "Yes. That is why this hurt." 3 days later, we met at a coffee shop halfway between our homes. Paige arrived wearing a beige coat and no makeup. Without the bridal photographs, family praise, and carefully written captions, she looked exhausted. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "Mom told me you hated me." "I never hated you." She said you laughed about the hotel. She said you thought I did not deserve my promotion. She said you planned to announce your engagement at my shower. None of that happened. Paige looked down at her coffee. "I know that now." I waited. But I believed her, she continued. "Because it made things easier." Easier how? If you were jealous, then I didn't have to feel guilty when everyone compared us. There it was. Not innocence. Not a dramatic confession. The truth. Paige knew the system was unfair. Questioning it would have required her to give up the comfort of always being chosen. She wiped beneath one eye. "When Mom suggested excluding you from the shower, I agreed." "I know. I told myself you would make a scene." "Have I ever made a scene at one of your events?" "Number." "Then why did you believe I would?" She stared at the table. "Because if you were there, people might ask about your engagement or your business. And I wanted one day when nobody compared us." The answer hurt, but not in the way she expected. "Paige, I wanted that too." She looked up. "I wanted one family gathering where your success did not require my failure." Tears slid down her face. "I'm sorry." I did not say it was fine. It was not fine. "I believe you're sorry," I said. "I don't know yet what that changes." She nodded. The following evening, Paige sent a message to the entire family group. Claire did not refuse my shower or wedding. She was excluded and I agreed to it. She did not know my wedding date had changed when she planned her ceremony. The stories suggesting otherwise were untrue. I am sorry I allowed them to spread. Aunt Valerie left the group chat within 2 minutes. Paige's message did not restore our childhood. It did not erase what she had done, but it cost her something to tell the truth. That mattered. We did not become best friends again. When Paige received another promotion, I congratulated her because I meant it. When Hearth and Line opened its storefront, she sent flowers without adding a comparison. Aunt Valerie did not sign the card. That was all right. On the 2nd anniversary of the morning, I found the bridal shower photographs. Grandma sat near my studio window, while Evan installed a new display shelf. Mom was bringing lunch. Dad was carrying coffee. Serena had a key and still used it without permission. The people in that room were not perfect. Some had hurt me. Some had helped me heal. The difference was that respect was no longer optional. Grandma opened an old sample box and found one unused advice card from Paige's bridal shower. The printed question read, "What is the most important lesson for a happy marriage?" She handed me a pen. I thought for a moment and wrote, "Never ask someone you love to disappear so the room feels easier." Grandma read it twice. Then she smiled. "That one," she said, "you should frame." So I did. And now I want to ask you, if your family deliberately erased you, then blamed you for the empty space, would you keep fighting for a seat at their table? Or would you build a table where nobody had to shrink in order to belong?